We have reached the season finale for the 2009 Speed World Challenge Championships. Today, it's the Applied Computer Solutions Monterey Sports Car Championship presented by Bondurant School of High Performance Driving. Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Creamer. Welcome to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the 10th round of the championship. We start with touring cars, and Tom Natchew, let's take a look at this great track.
Well, let's take a look at this brand new 2010 Mazda 3 by Tri-Point Engineering taking us around here. That's Eric Foss in the car. He's done a lot of laps here. This is one of the tracks that makes itself its favorite to virtually everybody who drives here. On the way up the hill, you've got a huge elevation change happening, and by the time you get to the famed corkscrew at the top of the hill, you've got to take some of that elevation off in a hurry. Greg, it's 10 stories from the top of the hill to the bottom where they turn right. You can see it drop away here. This is all about momentum. It always has been at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, but the other thing that you have to keep in mind is, look at that dust. It's going to be a factor.
All right, and if you want to learn this track or most any other, Bob Bondurant's your guy.
I'm Bob Bondurant, and I will wish you all the best luck. The best man win. Gentlemen, start your engines.
And as this great field comes to life, a little while ago we had the last coin flip of the 2009 season. Pierre Kleinhuben came in here second in the points. He got pole with Saney qualifying in 8th, and he needed it to stay put. Did it? Well, here's Tom.
Here we are at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the season finale for touring cars. This is the coin toss. Pierre Kleinhuben, you have the pole. We've got James Clay, Peter Cunningham, Kuno Whitmer, and Chip Herr with you. Please toss the coin. Call it in the air. If you win the toss, you keep the pole. If you don't, the grid inverts. Go ahead, sir.
Tails it is.
Tails he calls. Tails it is. You keep the pole.
Yes.
Pierre Kleinhuben. You bracketed this season with poles. Last one you had was at Sebring.
Yeah, and it's just the way to do it. We needed the pole here, and Acura is super happy right now. Trust me, we're going to do it for Acura this weekend, I guarantee you.
All right, let's take a look at some great onboards from Chase Cam. Upper left will be P.D. Cunningham in the Acura, James Clay in the BMW on the upper right, lower left Jason Saney, the Mazda, and lower right Pat Lindsay, Mazda 6. And welcome back, everybody, to the ACS Monterey Sports Car Championship presented by Bondurant. 10th round World Challenge Touring Cars on the installation lap. Let's get you to the starting lineup. Huge implications for the championship. Pierre Kleinhuben gets the pole. That ties Acura with Mazda. But more importantly, Pierre's deficit to Jason Saney went from 54 to 39 points with the bonus points. And you're going to see this next page. There is Jason back in 8th. That is a huge swing. A lot of work for Jason to have to do to make this one work. Also, you're going to notice some new names in the lineup here. We've got some 14 drivers total from California have shown up here, and Graham Downey has been very impressive in qualifying. Sage Marie, the T3 runoff standout in an S2000, makes a start with real time his first pro race. Also, Scott Webb and Tommy Chen on board in the new TC2 category. The back row includes Andrew Gillis, another rookie in his first start. The lights are out, and Tom Natchew, we are racing, and a horrible start, big surprise, by James Clay in that rear drive BMW.
Not a good start at all, Greg, but he's still got his nose stuck well up in it. Meanwhile, it's Pierre Kleinhuben, and if you're going to take a wingman with you, why not 5-time champion Peter Cunningham?
Oh, and there you see Nick Asayan and Pat Lindsay in that maroon and white Mazda. Asayan and the BMW still side by side, did a bit of grinding heading into turn 2, but looks like they have come out of it relatively unscathed. But you are right, for Pierre going after a championship, having PD right behind him, on board with Jason Saney back in 8th, Tom.
Needed to get a good start here, and doesn't particularly get a good start. Spins the wheels a little bit, and you can see the number 73 car goes by him. That's Charles Espinlab, and along with the number 38 car, and that is 2-time race winner Seth Thomas in there. But look at him mix him up down in Andretti. Look at Patrick Lindsay, man. He will drive that car into the corner. Last race of the year, Greg Creamer doesn't really care about the bodywork that much.
There's the look from Nick Asayan as Lindsay makes that move down to the inside, and there's the grind off, but they ended up staying side by each as they come out of that turn. Meanwhile, take a look here, 3rd place. That is one of the Tri-Point Mazda Speed Pro Parts Mazdas, but guess who the pilot is? Chip Herr. Only other start this year at the opener in Sebring. They brought him in to help out with Saney in the points championship as well as for those manufacturer points. And Tom, he's been the fastest Mazda driver this entire weekend.
Chip was pumped coming in here, and you knew he wanted to do well in front of all the guys in Mazda in their home state, and he's carrying the flag for the boys as far as the manufacturers championship is concerned. We've got to start being concerned about Jason Saney. He has got to pick it up here if he's going to have a fight with Pierre Kleinhuben at the end of this whole thing.
Well, with Pierre getting the pole, the 15 bonus points, as I said, narrowing that margin in the points down to a 39-point deficit, Saney will get it if he can get fourth or better. It's a clinch. Now here comes James Clay trying to get down underneath Chip Herr, and Chip floats a little wide. James going to try and turn down underneath once again. Chip, boy, brave move, stays put, drops the right tires into the dirt, but that is just enough momentum, gives him the inside as they head into turn 3, and a little bump right there. James saying, I'm here, buddy, but Chip hangs on to it, and some great racing. And for James Clay, after that tough start, good to see him back up into that 4th spot and hounding Chip Herr. But that bit of side-by-side, Tom, we've talked about it all the time. Here comes Clay trying the outside. Same thing. This will kill your momentum, exiting 5 in that long climb up the hill. And up front, Pierre and Petey are gone.
And look who's joining the party from the back of it. You can just get an obscured look as James Clay all over the back bumper of Chip Herr. You can see that number 44 car. That is a Montreal, Quebec driver, and he will mix it up. And, of course, that is Kuno Whitmer.
Absolutely up into the corkscrew. And again, Clay giving him the little bit of a, hello, I'm here, keep it moving. And it certainly looks right now that under braking in particular, James Clay seems to have the measure of Chip. Every turn they approach, you can see James gets in a lot deeper, brakes later, and Chip is just doing some magic right now to fend him off.
Now we go on board with Eric Foss in that brand new 2010 Tri-Point Engineering Mazda 3. They say they'll build you one if you want, but big moment right in front of him is the number 44 car of Kuno Whitmer. Looks like something broke off that car, Greg.
Like a tire went bounding off of the car, so some sort of suspension failure, one would surmise. And obviously, boy, a high-speed section of track, exit of that turn 10, and he is going to be well and truly mired back over there. Meanwhile, we get back to this great battle we're seeing between James Clay and that black gear wrench Bimmer World BMW hounding the Mazda Speed Pro Parts and Stop Tech Mazda of Chip Herr. And right now, as we talked about, Tom, you can see that he is so quick under braking, and Herr obviously able to hang on in front. There's a look at a very beached Canadian.
He's not going to recover from that easily. They're going to have to go in and get him. And then there's the matter, Greg, about the missing wheel, you see? Have to take care of that as well. So it's not like he's going to be on the lead lap when he comes back out here. Meanwhile, the racing up front looks like it's lead lap racing as we see this battle heating up even more between Chip Herr and a very determined driver, James Clay.
Boy, and James Clay used what he tried before, tried to change it up this time, heading into that turn 5. Did you see that, Tom? Went to the outside again, Chip protected, normally tightens up your exit on the turn, and he, being Clay, tried to cut down underneath and go to the throttle, but it becomes academic. We have 2 yellows flying on the corner stations here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, because of Kuno Whitmer's problems. We are full course caution.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get to that very quickly either. It's a big job to get Kuno out of there. Actually, good news for Kuno. He's, because we're going to be yellow, he's not going to lose that many laps. But for all intents and purposes, Greg Creamer, this is World Challenge. There are no pit stops. There's no stopping for gas. Kuno Whitmer's day pretty much is done. He's just going to have to get back on the track if he can and take one for the team. As we see this field bunch up, new hope for Jason Saney, who has got to run down that man, Pierre Kleinubing, and beat him by about 4 spots to take over as the reigning champion for the 2009 season. There's the rest of your order as we get set to take our first break, Greg. This has been a humdinger so far.
It certainly has, and lots more to come. The championship's on the line, drivers, manufacturers. It's good stuff. And welcome back to the ACS Monterey Sports Car Championships presented by Bondurant. Yellow flag, caution period is done. Tom, we are racing. Green flag back out, Kleinubing with Peter Cunningham as a tail gunner. But look at the move right there by Nick Asayan. Beautiful restart, jumps up and actually slots into the 3rd spot as Chip Herr runs just a little bit wide, drops those right side tires, but still has that inside position, which is going to frustrate, guess who? James Clay, and he's still behind him.
He's been trying to do that all along. Meanwhile, he just watches Nick Asayan just go about the inside.
I think Chip got a little help there.
Oh, he got a big help right there from James Clay. Kind of knocked him out of the way, and that's what it means when you have a teammate running close to you. Pierre Kleinubing knows the feeling. He's got Peter Cunningham sitting right there should anything like this happen.
World-class sports car racing, a contact sport.
That's the way we like it, Greg.
Absolutely.
Here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, you can see it's got a propensity to get a little bit dusty, too. So now that we're about halfway into this round, all bets are off. There's very little grip at the exit of the corners, and it's going to start to be a pinball game, baby.
And a skating rink. There was a look at Graham Downey and the Redstone Black Tracks Honda Civic. All kinds of crossed up out of that high momentum turn 6. But a beautiful save. And I'll tell you what, he's been a bit of a revelation here this weekend. They unloaded that car. The team has done a great job dialing it up, getting it ready to go. And he has gone right up into the mix with some mighty talented players, including your championship points leader, a guy named Saney.
Yeah, he's just doing a fantastic job. He's got more contact out in the circuit. That's the brand new Scion in the series. And he's just learned what it's like to race in World Challenge in a big way.
Yeah, that was Scott Webb, and he got helped off, I think, a little bit by Andrew Gillis, another rookie in the AIT Ford Focus, who was in full opposite lock. And that's that dust we're talking about. You get to the edge of the lines, you get a little bit wide, that dust gathers, and it'll just catch you out. Nice save by Gillis, but unfortunately, what helped straighten him out was Webb, who ended up getting forced off track.
Well, get used to it, guys, because there's lots more of that where that came from when you come back full-time next year. Meanwhile, we go up to the front, and it's the usual suspects. Here's James Clay trying to get down the inside of Chip Herr finally. And here's a view from Chip Herr's car. Will James Clay come out the other side? Yes, he will. But you can actually use some of that curbing for a bit of grip on the outside. Doesn't work this time for Chip Herr. Gives up the spot. Still the fastest running Mazda, but now he's got help in back from Charles Espinlab.
Well, I think that actually started a couple corners earlier where he dropped the tires again, and just that little loss of momentum, and James finally able to make the run up into turn 5. And if you can park the guy on the outside, I think exiting 5, because that's where you start that really steep climb, it can pay dividends. It certainly did there. So Clay, after a tenacious fight and an even more tenacious defense perhaps from Chip Herr, is finally through. Meanwhile, there is your leader, Kleinubing. Second is Cunningham, then Nick Isayan, who is having a second half of the season here that will rival anybody's, certainly a career best for him. But now he's got James Clay, who was very fast. Remember, folks, qualified second, had a tough start, lost a bunch of spots, and has had to work really hard to get back up into this 4th spot. He wants more.
Nick Isayan, in the meantime, has been doing a great job towards the end of this season. He's proved he can run up front with these guys in World Challenge. He's always been a part of World Challenge, or it seems like he's always been a part of World Challenge, with a couple of different teams, but this year is Nick Isayan's year in that Gear Wrench Bimmer World BMW.
Well, he's qualified 3rd this season for his best ever qualifying effort. A great 3rd after leading most of the laps at Road Atlanta. But the other thing for him to be thinking of is neither Seth nor James at Road Atlanta showed him a lot of mercy. Either when he made a little bobble, they wasted no time. Pat Lindsay, again, that was a case of, well, I can either try the move, and if I try the move, it'll also help in defense of, I think that's Seth Thomas, who's trying to come up in the other Bimmer World Gear Wrench BMW. They are everywhere. Boy, did he just slice through. That, Tom, is what you call a decisive pass.
That's exactly what Seth Thomas had in mind. He saw that little bobble there from Pat Lindsay, saw his opportunity to try it on a couple of laps previous to this, but now he makes it work. Now we look from Patrick Lindsay back to a very determined Jason Sadie, who rings Lindsay's bell a couple of times on their way down the hill. Here's a look from Nick Isayan looking back to James Clay, and look at that headlight. That left front headlight on, or right front headlight on James Clay's cars. The rest of that is on Chip Herr's bumper.
And I think James got the run. He did. Boy, another nice pass, this time on Nick Isayan. And that was just absolutely getting that black Gear Wrench BMW to hook up beautifully off that turn. Got the drive as Nick bobbled a little bit, and he was through once again. So we are just past halfway in this final round of the Touring Car Championship here at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. It's a war. Welcome back to the Applied Computer Solutions Monterey Sports Car Championship, presented by the Bondurant School of High Performance Driving. Final round of the touring cars, well and truly under contest. You hop on board now with Seth Thomas. That is Charles Espinlab right in front. That is the Tri-Point Mazda, and Thomas in that Bimmer World BMW comes out inside, but now that puts him on the outside for turn 4, and Espinlab should have the advantage. Watch for Thomas to try the over-under. He is there. Is he going to be enough to make it work at turn number 4? No! And that was smart. Seth saw that, said, I'm not quite there. I better give it up or we're going to have contact. It could hurt both of us. No point in that.
But you daren't lift. You hardly want to lift off the throttle a little there, because this whole time you're going uphill, you lift off the throttle a little bit and you're going to ruin it for the next 2 corners. So Seth Thomas racing with a real pro in Charles Espinlab. These guys are taking touring car racing to a new level and have been doing it for the last 5 years.
So you're saying that was the definitive breathe? out of the throttle.
Well, what do I know? But it looked good to me. Seth Thomas still right there as they get to the top of the hill, and there's an opportunity to actually move the 73 car out of the way. He chooses not to do that either, Greg.
Absolutely, and that was the corkscrew, the signature turn here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, then that 10-story plummet down to this turn right here. Bit of banking on that corner. It's actually, you can get in there a little hotter than you might think, even though it's downhill because of the banking. But if you do get it wrong, it is a rough ride at the exit. And look at this scrum coming out of turn 11. That is a great pack of cars. Lindsay at the back of it, but look who's behind him. More of the Tri-Point team, and then that very impressive Honda Civic Si from Redstone Racing of Graham Downey.
Jason Saney doesn't want to give up on this. He wants to get in here and race. And Pat Lindsay, well, he's got his sleeves rolled up, and he just wants to get a piece of this bar fight as this one heats up between the Bimmer and the Mazda.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there as Seth Thomas in that gear wrench BMW just nipped into the back, as he does again, of the 73 Tri-Point Mazda of Charles Espinlaub. These two are well and truly after it right here. Oh boy, and Seth really gives him a bit of the chrome horn that time. Beautiful save by Espinlaub, but here comes Lindsay. What a move, saw the opportunity, gassed it. The problem is Espinlaub far enough along the inside? No, Lindsay not only able to get the door shut, but keep the momentum for the climb up the hill. Espinlaub has to tuck back in. Then it's Thomas, but that has allowed Jason Saney and the very impressive Graham Downey in that Honda Civic right into the spray, but almost losing it is Downey trying to carry every ounce of momentum through that crucial turn 6. Some great stuff, Tom.
Oh, down at the top of the corkscrew now, this one between Thomas and Espinlaub heats up as they're going to try to go down the outside of Patrick Lindsay, and Espinlaub at least will get part of it done as Charles now follows him down in towards turn 11, and this is where the BMW has been so good, making up time in here. So as they come charging around here, Patrick Lindsay fully exposed to Espinlaub. There goes Seth Thomas down the inside, Greg.
Well, that was Espinlaub, just ran a little wide, then gets the nudge from Saney exiting turn 11. Here comes Downey. He's going to try and make the move on Saney. There was really nothing that Saney could do. He's trying to keep Downey behind him, and that is about points. But look at this side by side. Thomas leading Espinlaub with Lindsay on the shoulder, right side. Oh, they get into it. It's a bump and grind. Down again goes Lindsay underneath, gets around Thomas. That time Thomas using that nose, but it got him out of shape, and he floated wide, and Lindsay pounced, and now wants to pounce on Espinlaub. This is an unbelievable battle. Watching it is Jason Saney going, come on, guys, take each other out. That's what I need. And they almost do. Both Thomas and Lindsay off track. Saney gets one of them, as does Downey getting by. Now he's going to try and get Lindsay. Does he have it done this time? No. Lindsay couldn't get to the apex, though. That might slow his exit up. It does. And he is now through. And here comes Downey going for the ride. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable stuff as Downey actually uses his car and moves Patrick Lindsay over a little bit on the way on the uphill. Absolutely flat out. Nothing between him, and Eric Foss has got that brand new 2010 Mazda 3 up into the mix now. Boy, that's an exciting race car. Take a look at that thing as it follows that BMW down the hill. Little different profile. It looks like it might be just a tiny bit shorter in the wheelbase, too. Great looking car. And now it's had its trial by fire. Greg, that's been some of the best racing we've seen all year. And fittingly, it's at the very last race here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Oh, absolutely. And Lindsay again drops the wheel and almost drops the wheel again, exiting 10, heading into 11. And you talk about that Mazda, the Mazda 3, Foss getting the nod to run it since he's already clinched Rookie of the Year. They're looking at using that car as their platform for the new rules because the new Mazda 6 really design and bodywork maybe not too favorable, and they like what they're seeing with that Mazda. And again, Lindsay's liking what he's got with the current Mazda up on the shoulder once again of Thomas. I don't know, Thomas, that inside should pay off, and it does. He makes it stick. We've got just a couple of laps to go. It is a battle up front. It is still Kleinubing. 2 laps remaining in the season here at the ACS Monterey Sports Car Championship presented by Bondurant. And the touring car battle continues. Just to keep it all in perspective, folks, with Kleinubing getting the pole, Mazda, Acura tied, so whichever one of them finishes higher up will get the Manufacturers Championship. Kleinubing leads. Right now, Saney in 9th. If Kleinubing wins, Saney needs 4th or better. Kleinubing looking pretty good. as is this ongoing battle. Once again, it is a war, but this time now, you see Seth Thomas leading on the back of the number 74 of Saney. We hop on board. That's how close it is, and there is a hit. Boy, Seth got out of it right away, realizing he got into Saney. There you see Saney running wide, able to gather it back up again. That's the exit of that very tricky turn 6, Tom.
Say goodbye to Downey and Seth Thomas as you go down the outside or inside, depending on your perspective, how far you are down, and get the job done. Saney has got to do better than that. Now he's got a big problem in behind him, and that crazy Patrick Lindsay's coming again.
And Tom, how impressive has Graham Downey and that Redstone Honda Civic SI team been in this one? Just a revelation here as we start the last lap. White flag, 1 lap to go in the season. Kleinubing leads, Cunningham in second, and sitting in third, once again, a very impressive James Clay. And for Pierre Kleinubing, when you think back to 2007, which was the last time World Challenge visited this great track, boy, what a change in terms of emotion on the day this is going to be for Pierre if he hangs on.
Well, you're talking about 2 years ago when Pierre Kleinubing ran into Randy Popes, got 30 seconds in penalty there. Cunningham won the day, but Kleinubing lost the championship that day. And when you look behind the number 36 BMW, there's a lot of real estate there, owing mostly to these guys, because they've been beating the living tar out of each other, Greg.
It has been an absolute war back in this scrum, if you will. And here we go. Thomas taking a look, trying to work by Espinlaub, not quite able to get it done. And Jason Saney is still trying to deal with Graham Downey. Now, watch Thomas, works the outside into turn 5. Tough place to get it done. You've got to carry speed. Look at Downey trying to take advantage, trying to trap Thomas. Downey, yeah, he had to pinch the exit off just a little bit too much, slowed down his exit speed and allowed Thomas there. Now Saney, that was a run. Jason Saney needs something here. Meanwhile, out of the Rainey curve, down into turn 10, Kleinubing, Cunningham in those orange, white, and Acura blue TSXs with Clay and that black gear wrench, Bimmer World BMW. Line astern, last time into turn 11. Onto the front straight, Kleinubing has it, covered, Cunningham defends on Clay, and Pierre Kleinubing is going to win the championship because there's no way Saney can do what he needs to do. Here's the battle involving Saney down into this final turn. Saney trying everything, trying to get around, get past Downey. Not going to be enough. Oh, but Downey runs wide. After that great drive, he felt the heat, and Saney able to pick up a spot, but that will only be 8th. And Tom, Pierre Kleinubing joins a very august group in terms of number of championships.
He started out this whole ding-dang show by saying they were going to win this day for Acura. He guaranteed it. I wonder how he knew that was going to happen. As the number 36 car of James Clay gets into the action there, he's running along, giving the thumbs up to Pierre Kleinubing. What a day for Pierre Kleinubing as he does the traditional fist pump. Greg, this has been a great day for Acura as well.
Well, it truly has, and the numbers are somewhat staggering. Kleinubing now also 5 championships, but all of his, as you take a look at the final results, are in touring cars. The other 2, Cunningham and Mike Galati, who won a few of them with real time, also had GT championships. 8 for Acura, 13 for American Honda in the history of World Challenge. Pretty stunning numbers as you take a look at the rest of the final results. And folks, guess what? The battling didn't just stop before the checkered flag.
No, a little bit shenanigans going on here after the checkered flag. That's Seth Thomas right up on Jason Saney's bumper and got him turned around. And I don't think he meant to do that. That does not sound like Seth Thomas to me.
I wonder if there's just a little fun on the last lap, the cool-down lap of the race that just mistimed it. So here are the final points. Kleinubing wins the championship. Saney drops to 2nd. Cunningham still 3rd. Seth Thomas 4th. And Charles Espinlaub 5th. And for many of the teams, even more importantly, here are the manufacturer points. And Acura wins it again. Coming in here, 1 point down. They tied it up with Pierre's pole. Unbelievable stuff. Great job by this team. And there the celebration begins for real-time racing. And folks, take a look at the guy in the top of the wall up there. That is John Doonan from Mazda. And look at that. Now there's some sportsmanship. This is a great paddock.
It really, really is. For John Doonan to come down pit wall and congratulate the champion with the rest of his team, that is something that you really like to see in motor racing. Hats off to the guys from Mazda. John Doonan and those guys have done a great job all year long. Very close to winning a championship, Greg, but close is only close in horseshoes.
And here's our Auto Week move of the race, a no-brainer, Patrick Lindsay's pass. Let's get to Victory Circle.
To win the race, yet Jason Saney had to finish outside of the top 6. You get from the pool. It's going to be a very place for yourself and for Acura.
Once you have an Acura in real time behind you, you know how easy it is.
It's unbelievable. The car is just so raised the whole race. It made me look so good.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Flying with your wingman was not a bad idea, too.
Oh no, that's the best man to have behind you. Team owner, sitting there, your man right there. He knew what he needed to do and work out in the end. Happy to have it.
And going into the banquet tonight, what are your thoughts as a 5th championship under your belt?
Couldn't be any sweeter than this. You know, when you win on the track, it feels 10 times better.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Pierre Kleineving.
On behalf of Applied Computer Solutions and our friends at Optima Battery, gentlemen, start your engines!
And the dulcet tones of CEO of Applied Computer Solutions, Sandy Davis, gets us on our way for the ACS Monterey Sports Car Championship presented by Bondurant. And this season had one more coin toss. It happened earlier. Here it was.
Here we are at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca for the finale for the GT cars. Boris Said, Tony Rivera, Dino Crescentini, James Sofronis, and championship leader Brandon Davis. Boris, for the first time, please toss this coin, call it in the air. If you win, you keep the pole. If you don't, your teammate takes the pole.
Well, I want to lose, so how do I do that?
It's up to you, man. Call it in the air.
Tails always loses, so tails.
Heads it is. Brandon Davis takes the pole. You know, Brandon, you've been involved in these things a lot. And find another one pays off for you.
Yeah, I mean, didn't have the best run in qualifying, but hey, at least Boris is good for something here. We get started from the pole and definitely like how that looks.
Boris is good for something. He's going to hear about that. Here are the chase cam. Look at our quad, James Sofronis, Global Motorsports Group. In your upper left, Tony Rivera, Taxmasters Porsche on the right. Lower left, Eric Kern, the Wheel and Engineering vet. Lower right, Andy Pilgrim, the K-Pax Volvo. Some great looks courtesy of chase cam. You'll see others, of course, as the race unfolds. Here is your starting lineup with the inversion. Davis, right where he wants to be on the pole. I think James Sofronis was even more excited than Brandon. I think there's probably nerves for Brandon more than anything else. And there's Boris Said, the helper, and Randy Popst, who has had a lot of success and a lot of sorrow right here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Great effort by Kip Olson. Superb job showing up in the Acura NSX with a great qualifying run in his first ever World Challenge start. You take a look at the rest of the starting field. Bit of a surprise there for Andy Pilgrim to be that far back. Neither of the Volvos as fast in qualifying as we might have expected. This is traditionally a lower grip track, but right now they were struggling just a little bit. And there's Bill Ziegler, the Swisher Racing Porsche with Global Motorsports Group, already has clinched Rookie of the Year for this category. A couple of new drivers there, Chad Raynal, and look at Tommy Dreese, recently clinched the Muscle Mill Trans Am Championship for this season, and Paul Brown coming back to World Challenge as well. A great field, Tom.
Well, the 5-second board is out, the lights are on. When they go off, we'll be racing for the last time. This is Speed World Challenge at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and Brandon Davis takes it all the way down into Andretti, but it's side-by-side racing with two Porsches. That's Dino Crescentini has got his nose inside his teammate James Sofronis.
Boy, and Boris Said came from inside out and still ended up with fourth, then Rivera, and then Popes. And look at James Sofronis showing the nose, or at least his intention, as does Boris Said to Dino, and they touch. Oh, Dino off and in to the gravel, the outside of turn 3, trying to gas it and get out, and instead has dug himself a parking spot. And let's go back to the replay, Tom.
Well, you take a look at this. Dino Crescentini is very, very racy here. When he gets turned around, never lets up off the throttle. But, of course, when you are that deep, it's going to make for a real difficult time to get it up. Here's a look from Tony Rivera's Taxmasters Brass Monkey car.
2 hits, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got into him a couple of times there. And yet one more good look from Boris's car. Once, twice again. Boris really didn't want Dino to get through the other side of that corner. Meanwhile, Eric Curran has got his front windshield full of the number 13 car of Charlie Putman. You can see the Morgan car go up there on the right. As, he didn't get a good start at all, Greg. And that's been going on with Eric Curran for quite some time. That'll give you some indication of the kind of start he got. Andy Pilgrim's start wasn't particularly good for an all-wheel drive car, and he absolutely shot by Eric Curran. As you can see, Andy Pilgrim overtaken by Jeff Courtney on the right side, and there again is the number 9 car of Gunter Sheldak, also down the right. So really bad start for Eric Curran. He's got his work cut out for him. But I think we're full course yellow, mate. I think it's going to take us some time to get Dino Crescentini's car out of the sand trap.
Absolutely correct. So here is your leaderboard. And the interesting thing, both of the Whelen Corvettes getting bad starts. They've been working on traction control, but somehow when they dial the traction control correctly, it affects their launch control. And both of them look like they just sat there spinning tires. And not quite as bad, though, as Dino Crescentini. That's why we're caution. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the ACS Monterey Sports Car Championship presented by Bondurant. Pace car is in. We are going back to green here for the final round of the World Challenge GT Championship. And Brandon Davis leads away. Safronis second, but look at Boris Said. He's looking to come down underneath Safronis. Safronis has to shift to give him room so they don't hit. Tony Rivera, the orange Taxmasters Porsche, trying to sweep the outside, but a great job by Safronis not to give that spot up. And as a matter of fact, Rivera almost gets a nose in on Boris, the same place he got a nose in on Crescentini, though this time, Tom, everybody survives turn 3.
And Randy Popes has got a run on the number 97 car of Tony Rivera. Randy Popes looking awfully racy in that K-Pax Racing Volvo. He'll get it done under the Bosch Bridge. And Tony Rivera is seeing it all go away in front of him. He's got to strike back, and Greg Kramer, he does.
Oh, he did a great exit of 5. He squared up, got underneath, and in fact gets right back by Randy Popes. And Tony loath to give up any positions. He has got to win this, and he needs to have Brandon have big problems. A 10th by Brandon clinches it, which I think as we go on board for replay, this is a great pass. Look at Curran. That was the restart, Tom.
Well, you know, when you don't do it from a standing start, Eric Curran can definitely get the job done. Makes up 1, 2, 3 as he goes down the inside. Now we stay with Andy Pilgrim, and we see Kip Olson. Oh, with that Acura NSX. And that was very, very close, Greg.
That was very close. Pilgrim lucky not to get caught out in that. Meanwhile, up front, you see Davis leads it, but look at Safronis in that beautiful Global Motorsports Group Porsche. He is putting the pressure on, and I think Brandon is in an interesting bit of a predicament here. He wants to lead. That's where you're safest. But like this, if a Safronis gets in and puts the pressure on you, you can be second, you could be third. Do you fight? I think not. He lets him go. Meanwhile, Eric Curran, boy, talk about fight, gave a little bit of the Nerf bar to Randy Popes, moved him out of the way, and that is going to promote Curran a spot and drop Popes down the marker.
Well, now the Brandon Davis car has the wingman. He's got, just like we saw with Peter Kleinubing and Peter Cunningham, he's got that Mustang taking care of his 6, and this takes us back to Road Atlanta 1 round ago, where the 97 car had to get through Boris Said to get to Brandon Davis, and it's exactly the role that Brandon Davis wants for Boris Said. As he said at the beginning, well, he's good for something. He's good to be a wingman. In fact, other than Peter Cunningham, I can't think of anybody any better, Greg.
I think not. Absolutely. Boris Said can drive the wheels off anything, and he is in a great position to do exactly what he was brought in for. Speaking of great positions, look at that green Viper of Jeff Courtney, the Kenda Tire Woodhouse entry. That car unloaded off the trailer incredibly fast, and he said that Matt Bejnarowicz and Rick Maxwell have done some magical work on the setup of that Viper. It is very fast, and he is having what he says right now the best drive in terms of the car setup he's had all season long. Meanwhile, we watch Curran. He's in front of the number 1 of Popes. Popes gets out of the turn well in that blue and yellow Volvo, but now Curran, that big V8, starts to thump it up just a little bit, draws away, takes a run at Rivera. He's there. Rivera has to protect to keep Popes behind him, and we go back on board with Andy Pilgrim as he is coming up on the number 9 of Shaldock.
Got to Sheldock down the inside. That's the more preferable position as Andy Pilgrim comes up on him. Going to try to make a move on this other Brass Monkey car. Gets the job done. So Andy Pilgrim is on his way up. Meanwhile, it's the 2 Mustangs. Are they giving chase to the number 14 Global Motorsports Group car, or are they happy where they are, Greg?
Well, I think it's a little of each. I think part of the problem is this track has historically been a good one for Porsches, and James Safronis, that Global Motorsports Group car, has been hooked up, and I think he is just dropping the hammer knowing that the guy right behind him, Brandon Davis, is fighting for a championship and maybe a little cautious. I think James is saying, here's a big shot, and if he wins for the 2nd year in a row, he'll wrap up the championship for Porsche. That means a lot to a guy whose prime business is Porsche and aftermarket work. But the interesting thing is these two cars, you look at them from a distance, they're similar, but you look a little bit closer. The one Davis is driving for the second straight weekend is the Mustang GT. That's the new bodywork package. You can see a little bit different look than the Cobra of Boris Said.
Yeah, you know, the new Mustang GT on the street, a little bit different fascia, front and rear, just a tiny bit different stance. Some people say it looks more like a late 60s Mustang than the one before. I'll tell you, they've done a great job of smoothing that out. Reportedly, the numbers in the wind tunnel just as good on the 21 car as we see Rivera striking now.
Boy, and I don't think Tony really had... Oh, and then Curran, that time as Boris tried to get back in line, Curran was there, and Boris gets spun around. Wingman is gone. Now Davis has to do it on his own, and Boris trying to enter the track in a cloud of that Mazda Raceway Laguna dust, does so. A couple of cars going big evasive. I think that was Charlie Putman that got a little bit sideways, and one of the Morgans as well. But now Boris has dropped off. Here's another look.
Well, let's take a look at Eric Curran and his perspective from the outside. He sees what's going on here. They hit once, and then he arrives on the scene. That contact with Boris Said knocks him off the track. The number 97 car gets the job done. Maybe a little payback, Greg, from the top of the hill at Road Atlanta a couple of weeks back.
Well, that's entirely possible, and I think for Curran on that one, I think he thought Boris was going to stay out a little bit longer and thought maybe he could duck underneath, and Boris came back on him a bit sooner than he really thought, and that's why they got caught out. Nonetheless, you've got that orange Taxmasters Porsche being hounded by Kern in that Whelen Engineering Corvette, and then Popes in the Capex Volvo right there. Look at that. Boy, that trio is absolutely in lockstep. Then Courtney, and then Andy Pilgrim, who, remember, the last time this series visited this track in 2007, Andy won it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
some of the best in the championship there. Yeah, just a little bit of chrome horn there. Some of the best of the championship has to offer, and Jeff Courtney is running right alongside with him, side by side, and gets the pass done on the number 30 car of Eric Curran. Let's see how this one works out, Greg.
Curran's just going to swing it out wide and try and get the drive off of this turn. The Andretti hairpin. Boy, it drops 2 tires, though, and that's going to cost momentum. And there goes Courtney. So Curran, he really didn't have any option but to try and stay outside. But Courtney missed the apex completely right there. Might give Curran an opportunity under the brakes into turn 4. And Courtney gave him a little bit of room and then lifted at just the right time. But you lift, here comes Popes. And Courtney realized, whoops, and went way down to the inside to defend. But now you start to climb up the hill. This is momentum. And let's see, does Popes able to get the run? No, not enough. And Courtney settles things just a little bit, but some great action. And keep in mind, this is outside of the top 5 right now. Doesn't matter. It's World Challenge.
It's really, really good stuff. And Greg, you showed me a big green American muscle car coupe that shoots fire every time it downshifts, and I'll show you a proper World Challenge race car, baby. Courtney's ride, that Woodhouse Performance Viper, is looking bad news.
Oh, absolutely. He's been grinning all weekend long. Meanwhile, Popes, now that he's through, starts to hound and run down, and just that fast catches Tony Rivera. And Randy knows Tony is in this championship hunt, but Randy also knows Tony has got to go forward, so why not attach yourself if possible? And he has done exactly that, and both of them in that process are starting to run down Brandon Davis. Boy, Tony, he came from the coast to make that pass, but gets it done, and again, a cautious Brandon Davis. No doubt doing the sums in his head and knows, even with Rivera now in front of him, he's still got the championship if he can stay close.
Well, he's got to do that. And I got to tell you, it's a brave move by Brandon Davis just to let that happen. Not that Tony Rivera was going to let that stop him anyway, but these two cars clearly quicker than Brandon Davis wants to go right now. Brandon Davis plays that option, but thinks, hey, who knows? These guys might take each other out as we get going through this race. There's a lot of racing to go here in round number 10 at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And as usual, it's coming down to the last race of the year, Greg, and these are always humdingers at Mazda Raceway.
Well, that they are. And, you talk about Brandon Davis. You've sometimes a big part of winning a championship as well as a good defense there, as you see Rivera making sure Randy's got no line through, is discipline. You've got to be smart when smart is more important than fast and reckless. And certainly, Boris said after his qualifying lap, which was spectacular, by the way, one of those throw it around slideways kind of laps, he said, we can't do that for long. And we burn the tires off. He goes, the Porsches are much stronger here, and certainly as they start hauling gravel on the track, Tom, you would think the all-wheel drive cars would start to pick up even more of an advantage. And Brandon Davis right now thinking big picture, being smart.
Very, very smart. And you're right. Theoretically, these all-wheel drive cars should be doing better the more sand that comes out onto the circuit. Randy Popes is certainly forcing the issue with his Taxmasters Brass Monkey number 97 car of Tony Rivera. What a season he's had to be even contending for this championship. Comes out of the hole with the win at Sebring, and he's been a factor in this championship, Greg, since day one. And he's not really a rookie, but he's a rookie to this championship.
Well, absolutely. And he's got wins and podiums here at Mazda Raceway Laguna, but never in World Challenge. This is his rookie year. He's done it in Porsches, but in the Patron GT3 Challenge, as we look at the battle that now Davis has. And poor Brandon, every time he gets past, he gets no time to rest. Now it's Kern and Courtney who are right there and pounding the pressure onto him at this point. But as you talked about, Rivera, and they made a chassis change. They lost their way in terms of setup and qualifying. Neither he nor the team ever gave up. And the last few races here, you thinking with Road America in particular, they have been wicked quick.
Now, over the top of the hill one more time, Rivera is able to hold off the number one car of Randy Popes, but it is getting closer and closer by the lap, as this is the best battle on the track so far. Meanwhile, remember James Sofronis, Global Motorsports Group, James Sofronis? He couldn't send a postcard and get it here in the same day. He is literally checked out. And this is great news for the Global Motorsports Group team. You can see back in the fray here, there's Dino Crescentini. Now, he's a few laps down. Well, that's never going to stop Dino from racing, Greg.
No, and especially not in California. Dino loves driving in California, certainly here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and he's going to try and make a point. But take a look at the run order right now, and you said it. The leader, Sofronis, is gone, but the championship rests right there with Brandon Davis. We'll be back. We are back at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the Applied Computer Solutions Monterey Sports Car Championships presented by Bondurant School of High Performance Driving. Last couple of laps of the World Challenge season, and Randy Popes continues to offer up every attack mode possible on Tony Rivera, and Rivera continues to just be able to get into the turns deep enough, Tom, to keep Popes behind him.
Well, look at that purpose-built two-door coupe, and Dino, what are you doing, Dino? Top of the corkscrew, Dino literally clouts the back of the number 99 car. He was on his way to a great finish, too, in that Kenda Tires Woodhouse Performance car. Last lap now as they come back onto the front straightaway. This has been the best battle on the track. James Sofronis is gone, and these two guys are contending for second and third place, and this has been an absolutely great battle, Greg.
It's been awesome, simply put, and you're right, Sofronis, you can just see him disappearing out of the frame. These two guys have been absolutely hammer and tong at it, and Rivera so far has been absolutely perfect in his defense, and Popes measured in his attacks. Randy gets a good run there, though. He's going to take a look down the inside of four. Only touch! All right, as we were talking about how close but contact-free the battle's been, there goes Rivera spinning into the gravel. We're on board with him, Tom.
Yeah, well, that's all it takes. When you're that hung out, Greg, just a little bit of effort from the guy behind you will take you out, and that is going to end the day for the number 97 car. Meanwhile, let's celebrate with James Sofronis, his winning bookend races. The first one in California and the last one in California in 2009. What a job for the Global Motorsports Group, guys. What a job for James Sofronis.
Yep, based in California, and look at the celebration as he goes to the wall. He not only gets the win, he clinches the championship for Porsche with that win, but there, back and forth, Brandon Davis is your champion, and let's hear from our winner.
This is a great win for a lot of reasons. GMG is just, these guys are an amazing group of guys, worked their butts off. They were here late last night, and we were talking about this race, how important it was to win in our home crowd. I mean, I got my beautiful wife and my daughter here with me. I got my sister and my brother. I got my nieces. I got friends. I got a lot of people here supporting me, which makes this all much better. Winning isn't everything, but it's sure great to do it in front of the people that I love and support me throughout all this.
Boy, and as you said, Tom, he has owned California this year. 8th championship for Porsche, but look at the celebration for Brandon Davis, and that's because he's earned his first championship. Time for us to hear from our champion.
It was more making sure we finished and did a good job finishing. I didn't want to go out and just try to stay on the track and end up finishing 9th or 10th and then losing the championship that way. But at the same time, I didn't want to race people real hard, and just things happen when you're in close racing, and have a situation where Tony had happened to him at the exit of 4, and get parked out in the gravel and the race is over. So really it was a view of be fast when you can, but if somebody's really on you and you know that they're faster, just let them go. You're not racing for the race. It's one race win. We had race win. We had 2 race wins last year, but no championship. I'd much rather have 1 race win and a championship.
And he played his cards perfectly. There are the numbers. He wins the championship. When Rivera was getting near the front, Davis was getting more and more nervous. I'm sure there's Porsche winning their 8th title, as we mentioned. And of course, folks, we always have the Auto Week move of the race. In this one, James Sofrone is getting down underneath a fairly friendly Brandon Davis and picking up the lead. That's going to wrap up an amazing 2009 season. Tom Natchew, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to 2010.
Pleasure's been all mine. Greg, see you next year.